record. All right. So now we're really going to get back to it, guys. I know, right? Just get on with it. So let's start here. Let's go back into our folder. We have our supporting file. What I'd like us to begin with, though, is right here. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through the process, yeah? Process. So the procedure that's on the instructions basically is we're going to go through this together, as we always do, because it's great that we get a dry run through, as it were. So let's go ahead. You guys had this, right? Get info and open with. That was part of your Photoshop thing. Somebody mentioned that, I think, in Discord. And maybe it wasn't so much a question of how to do it, but more a question of, is that what it means? Right? So open with, right? If I wanted to change my PDF into an Illustrator, so notice I can then right click on any file, open right down here, open with. I think you guys are changing your TIFFs to open up in Photoshop. That is, I think, because I've taught that course before. And the reason being is you want your TIFFs to open up in Photoshop and not Previewer. Probably because, yeah, I think your Previewer is your default. So this is where if I was doing, say I was doing marking everyone and I needed to change, I have all, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to have all of you submit PDFs to me. I'm going to change this that your PDF opens up in AI every time. You'll notice I can do change all, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to change that to be a PDF opening in Illustrator? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. Amazing. You'll notice that that is now my default for any PDF that I work on. Okay. So if I go here into this creative type, it is a PDF. Look at it. It's no longer opening in Acrobat anymore. It automatically opened up in AI. Cool. So back at it. Supporting. Double click on that. And we should now notice that it'll open beautifully in Illustrator. Okay. If you didn't get that, or you're like, Mitch, I missed that step, no worries. You can always do this as well. Right click open with, as you know. Right? And then we can go ahead and open up with Illustrator, right? Or another way, click, drag, drop into Illustrator. Whoop. Do not do this. Don't create a new file. I think this can work. Because I have seen this in past. Don't go ahead and create a new document and then drag and drop the PDF. Right? Don't do this. Whoop. Oh my goodness. And I have seen this in past. And what it basically does, everyone, just so you're aware, is it kind of does a placement on it. See that? So like, notice how it is still, it's actually a picture placed. It's not, it's trying to read and represent what that vector file looked like, but do not do this. And you guys are like, I would never do that, but thanks for showing it to me, because now anyway, it's all good. All right, so there's so many ways to get it open in Illustrator. Pick one. I don't care, but just don't drag and drop it in. There we go. And what I mean by that is, yeah. So here we go. You ready? Let's do this. Do not touch this template. Leave it exactly as is, because this is what's going to be used to cut, right? We have, again, the die is set up in such a way that you're going to go cut, 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 and it'll be finished. Okay. So leave it as is. What I would love to do, let's do this. Command N. So we're going to open up a new document. Okay. And let's call this out as Monster Buttons. All right. I will not need this file, but remember, I'm going through the process with you so we can practice it, okay? I'm going to make this whatever, maybe a 4x4, sure. Make sure we're in inches, okay? Bleed on it, yeah, sure. I always like to keep it on. In this case, your bleed is actually going to kind of be there already for us in the actual image or in the graphic that we're going to bring in. So I'm going to create a 4x4. At the end of the day, if you miss the overall dimensions, don't worry about it, because we can utilize the artboard tool in a second. So we'll go here. Nope, don't need that one. Nope. Okay, go back in here, okay? And I want you to marquee select on that button, shift, marquee select on that button. So now we have those. Don't move them around like don't move them like that, Command Z. I just wanted to make sure that if you move them, you know that you've got them all. There we go. Now, Command C, good, and Command V. All right. All right, all right, all right. So we got that, okay? And we got that. Beautiful. So we, in essence, have all of our buttons ready to go, at least to begin. So I'm going to hit Command S for a second, if you guys want to do a Command S, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my summer, into my assignments, into my project 3. And whether you want to utilize this as your template is up to you. You may want to do this as your template, and then all you'd have to do is delete what we do together and then import or insert your own, kind of have it there for you. It's up to you and how you want to do it. But again, we're just going through the process. We're going through the motions, as it were. Now, we are in working now. So go into the working folder, monster buttons, save. Nice. So this is going to be our working file. Okay, we've got everything built in, ready to rock and roll, yeah? Cool. So what we can do is we can, as we know, we have a template layer. We're not quite ready for that template layer yet. Let's get set up. So what I'd like you to do is let's select on this large button, okay? And what I want you to do is go here into the artboard tool. I believe it's Shift M. Try Shift M. Did that work? No, that didn't work. Anyway, artboard tool. Oh, Shift M is your, shit, that's your shape builder. So art builder tool, I knew that, I knew it all the time. There we go. So artboard is right here under your hand or above your hand, okay? And what I'd like you to do is go here to custom and notice fit to artwork bounds. Now, if you fit to artwork bounds, check it out. What's gonna happen is the page is actually going to be constrained to the piece of like all the artwork within the box, right? Or all the artwork within the page. Kind of interesting. Don't want that though. I'm going to fit to selected art. Cool. So see that? So what I've done there is I've just created a document exactly the same size as my button. Don't change the size of this button, okay? That's really important because we're gonna copy and paste and bring that back into the buttons, okay? So that being said, I may do this though. I know I did that, but I may because this is giving me anxiety, I may do something like this, right? And go in and just give myself another 1/8 of an inch maybe. So we have some play. There we go. Oh, that's much better, right? Isn't that nice? Okay. So something like that looks good. Let's try that again. Maybe we'll create 2 more artboards and each of the artboards will be on each of these buttons. I know it might be overdone, but it's kind of nice. Remember everybody, the purpose of doing these artboards is if we make a multi-page PDF, right? For whatever, printing or for previewing or whatever it may be, it will give you a PDF with 3 pages built in. Yeah, if we create the artboard. So let's go ahead and do that. So go into workspace first, change it to CAB 2020. I'm gonna reset CAB. There we go. I want you to go into artboards, okay? And then what I want you to do is let's just go 1, 2, okay? It's a nice, look at it, right? So 2 artboards, bada boom, bada bing. Is everyone okay? Following along all right? Just getting our file set up? Scream at me if you need some assistance. So we'll go there. And then what I'm gonna do is try this one more time. Black arrow or hit your V key is your black arrow, which is kind of nice. Good. Select on that button. Artboard. Yeah. And then fit to selected art. Nice. Now that we have fit to selected art, let's just bump this up a little bit. Again, give it a little bit of breathing room. There we go. Okay. You can manually put it in as well, of course, right? But I just need a placer, right? Something like that. Check this out. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna delete this 3rd artboard because I, in essence, have an artboard ready to rock, don't I? Yeah? So what I'm gonna do is artboard tool, try this with me. Option, drag. Oh, you kidding me? Look at that, right? So as I option drag, what it's doing is it's duplicating the button and the artboard, right, together. So you ready? Let's try this. I'm gonna go here first off, delete that one, don't need it. These are identical, these buttons are the same, right? Artboard tool. We know that option duplicates, right? Click, drag down, bada boom, bada bang. Now you'll notice that it makes a copy of Artboard 2, right? Remember when the skate logo, we actually did this together and we did name these, right? Big button. Awesome, get organized. This might be left button. This might be right button, right? Cool. And so if I zoom out a bit, right, you'll have large button, left and right, okay? And if you double click on the artboard, everyone, it'll take you directly to that page and zoomed in kind of, right? 100%. There we go. Nice, good, eh? Check this out. If you want to do shift and click, you now have the ability, this is again, fairly new with an update as of last year. You can actually do a shift click and move entire artboards together. That's sweet, okay? So we can go here, click, shift, click, and move, okay? Now, make sure that there's a setting here that move, see this right here? I'll just pause for a sec. If you're finding that things aren't copying for you or things are, your artboard's moving, but your artwork's not moving, it's because this might be unchecked. And so with that being said, what it's gonna tell you is that it's not going to move. When I see that, when I duplicate it, it doesn't grab what's on the artboard, which can be really handy if I'm just setting up something like this, right? I just want blanks, right? But it's not handy if I wanna do this and make 10 buttons. Boop, 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 right? How cool is that, right? So now I can go in and then start creating my buttons. Yeah. So artboards and like Artboards 101. Cool. Sorry, yes, Artboard tool. Amazing. Fit to art. Yes, would be great. Now fit to art, but everyone check out select on the artwork first, Artboard tool, then try clicking up here at the left where it says custom and see if you can't try fit to selected art. Some of you may be hidden, right? And some of you maybe only can see letter. Let me just scroll down. Something like that, let's pretend. But I find sometimes when you click on this, the actual fit to and the ones above, these guys are hidden. So if you can't see fit to artwork bounds or fit to selected art, just do a little scroll up with your, right? Or just grab it, move it, and then fit to selected like so. Sound good? That being said, everyone, if you wanted to even just do a manual size, you can do that as well, right? You can just go in, select it, move it, and just kind of get it close, okay? This is really, our, as mentioned, our working file. I'm not asking you to hand this in, but it's good practice. Amazing. So let's do this. Layers. So remember, that was all just in our artboards to get organized, right? Let's go into layers. We have a few things here that we can look at. Also, this is interesting. Remember we looked at center to artboard, right? If you just click here on, like double click on an artboard, so try this with me. If you want to grab your large button and maybe move your large button, right, away from the page, right? Now double click, right? If you double click on the layer or the artboard itself, right, we can do an align, right? And remember, we can do our align with it selected, right? And you can try align to selection, align to key object, align to artboard, right, at the top. And that's great because then I can just go center and then center, right? Awesome. Now you can utilize this, obviously, for anything, but anyway, so we did work through that, like selection and alignment is a big one, and we touched on that quite a bit throughout the time together, so. All right, so Command S, let's get that saved. As mentioned, the cool thing about this, you of course will not send this to your client because it's vector art, right? The thing that you'll send to your client, of course, will be, there we go, we've got our 3 buttons, right? So what I wanted to just show you is now if we go here, right, save as, PDF, And just as, let me just do maybe test at the end, right? And then we say, yeah. It's gonna then open up in Acrobat for us. Mine didn't want to work, that's fine. Working, part B. Oh, there it is. Sorry, it was hidden by that. Oh shit, it keeps opening up. Remember I changed my PDF to open up an AI? Yes, good job, Mitch. So I then can go here and we can change that up, and let me just, we want to open that with Acrobat, don't we? So I'm going to quickly change that to Acrobat so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. There it is. You guys don't need to do this, but I wanted to just show you. There it is, right? So at the end of the day, as mentioned, there's our page 1, right? Page 2, page 3. So you can, of course, change this into bit 1 per page. There we go. And now we've got page 1, page 2, page 3. Cool, eh? Anyway, so that is a nice way that we can, of course, depending on who you're working for and who you're working with, maybe you'll send that, depending again, if it's internal and you're working with somebody, this is a nice way to proof it. As a client base though, remember, try not to send them images or try not to send them your vector art because that's bad news. Okay. So there we go. We've got this, right? Amazing. So we have some sketches and we've done this enough. Let's go in and grab those sketches, okay? Be a good thing to start with. Well, we've already started, but. So I've got hangry and I've got sad, gourd. So if you guys want to go into the supporting artwork would be great, okay? I gave you these 2 sketches, okay? And then what I want you to do is let's grab those 2 sketches, okay? And I'm going to just drag and drop them in. And there we have it, okay? So you'll notice fairly decent in size, but this is pretty good actually. I like the size of the pictures. Typically, I like to open it in Photoshop and play around with it. If you guys want to go back into the Thursday class where I did a custom Angry Bird, you can watch the video on how to go about levels. I don't want to take the time in this class to do it because I've already covered it off. It was optional, but if you want to go in and see how you can use Photoshop to just kind of bump up your sketches, please do. But that's kind of more of a supplemental. It wasn't, okay. So here we go. We've got really just ugly pumpkins and this guy. We've got this guy. When you guys are ready, this is how, of course, I would suggest you go about creating. You'll then bring in your third one, okay, which is the angry gourd, or in my case, it was a badass gourd, okay? So what I wanna do is, we know that we're gonna create a template layer, right? But before we do that, let's go in, we're gonna create a layer here. And let's just call this out as button die. Amazing. Okay, so we have button dies that are now created. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to marquee select on all 3 of these guys, like so. Okay, and then I want you to just move that up with the blue dot, move it up. So we now have our button dies on a separate layer. Okay, sound good? So again, we're just getting organized so that you guys can get set up for your designing of your buttons, okay? I do not need these to be filled in a color, so if you did do this with me, a nice little tip, select, shift, select, right? Hit the D key, default, right? So we now have white fill, black outline. What we can then do is hit the question mark, try that. I can, of course, I was already there. Question mark though will say no fill, or you can just click on no fill. Awesome. So this is a really solid die now because it's now see-through. I'm going to keep this die on top, okay? So as I build my layers, I'm gonna have that always to the forefront and on top of everything. So I can just hide it when I need it, but I can utilize this kind of as my main, okay? As my guide, as it were. Okay, cool. Now, we've got these, okay? And these are, in fact, our templates. So let's do that. And I'm going to go in, and maybe I'll do something like this for placement. And now it is up to you, everyone. If you, again, if you want to utilize the button maybe as to size things, something like that first, and maybe you feel constrained. I mean, at the end of the day, we're working in a 2x2 area, right? And you can always hide this template at any time. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it. If you feel like you're like, yeah, dude, but I really want to kind of, once you get it sized, you want to work. Anyway, I'd highly recommend, let's do it this way, okay? Now, this is a question. Do we want this to be a small button? Do we want this to be the large button? Yeah? So that's going to be another decision you have to make. Which ones are your small ones and which ones are going to be your big ones, right? As mentioned, the red line is where the image area is. It does not mean that you're not going to have color, right? If you want to fill in that piece with color, awesome. Fill it in with color, okay? No matter however you want to go about it, okay? But just keep in mind when we get there, right, that this is the flat area. This red line is the flat face of your button. This then starts wrapping around. Anything in this area around like the really edge here, you're not going to see it because it's going to be on the back of the button. And I hope that makes sense for everyone. Okay. So what I'd highly recommend is when you're sizing this up, just make sure you get a nice position for it. Something like that. You can always move it, of course, but this is kind of a nice way that we can just go in, get a decent idea as per how big my vector needs to be, how much of my vector I want to show, right? And at the end of the day, I only need the character, okay? But check this out. I have some bones here, yeah? Say off the other side, and I have like the fruit of plenty, okay? Sorry, I had to do that with that voice. I don't know why. So the fruit of plenty is a little bit over, right? But I don't mind. This is kind of a non-essential piece. It's fun. And if it wraps around a bit, it's not a big deal. Okay. I've got the main elements. I know that this is a skull and I've got a bone, but I have no problem with the bone kind of hanging off a little bit here. It's going to wrap a little bit, but that's okay. Okay. But give that some thought. Even if you were doing like vines and you wanted to have vines, right? In my case, it'd be kind of neat to do vines going like this. Yeah. So even though it's kind of hidden, right? You can do something like that and it's kind of working in and out of the button, right? You know what I mean? So even though it's kind of wrapping around, it's still a cool element that you can utilize. Just kind of throw it out there for you. So you can be creative with that as well. Don't feel like you have to just do a character, center it in this red spot, and don't do anything else with a button, right? I want you guys to theme it and have fun with it and see if you can't really bring it together. And as you'll see here, I did kind of bring in some vines and so on and so forth. So that is your setup. Of course, you will bring in your third sketch, right? I'm going to pretend this is my third sketch. I should have just gave you my other one. I wasn't proud of it. That's why I didn't give it to you. So I should have taken another hour and worked on it. But that's all good, right? So there we go, right? 1 button, 2 button, 3 button, bada boom, bada bing. So you ready? What I'd like you to now do, double click. We all know that templates are friend. So we're gonna do that and click on template. Now, just like we use tracing paper on our light tables, you may wanna try 20%. Isn't that neat? So now it is very similar to what it would look like if you were tracing over a light table, right? I kind of like that 20%, right? It really dims it well, right? And then you can begin drawing, okay? So what we can do is I'm gonna do layer 1, large button, okay? Another layer, right button, another layer, left button. Good job, Mitch. Talk about consistency. There we go. There we go. Now we are ready to rock and roll, okay? So we're gonna go in, make sure that is on the large button layer, right? We then can go in here. I would lock down my die for now, okay? So that's just locked down, okay? But it's there again as reference, it's nice to have, okay? You may even, dare I say, because we are going to bringing it back over onto this one, you may look to go in and grab your die. Let me just lock everything down for a sec. Remember I showed you how to create guides? And you can do it by selecting on any object, right-clicking and make guides. You can do that as well if you want. And the reason being is I'm only using this literally as a guide. I don't know if it works in this case because it is very hard to see. So you can, of course, change your color of your guide, but for now, I may just leave it as is, okay? But I just wanted to show that to you. I think the guides are, this is a nice one to use because it really makes sure. What I was getting at though is as you create it, just make sure you're on the right layer, right? So there's my right button, right? There's my large button, right? And then left button. And there we go. We're all set up, okay? So now you can start drawing all of those within each of your layers. If you want to now do this for me, if you want to go in and maybe delete these sketches and then maybe just save. Oh, how's it going? All right, that's our PDF. All right. So now that you have, you can, what I'm getting at is you can now utilize this as your working file. Okay. You've got your die set up. You've got your buttons, right? Allocated. And then you've now got your artboards as well set up. Notice this is interesting. I screwed up, didn't I? Check out my left button. So my left button, oh, sorry. My left button is actually this one here, isn't it? In my artboards. See that? So I actually swapped out, I accidentally swapped out. Anyway, this should be right. And this should be left. And you guys are like, oh my goodness, really? Well, yeah, because why not? We don't want to be confused, right? Oh, Baron. Okay, Baron. You guys get the idea. Button. Good. There we go. Now our left button, and there's our right, there's our left, there's our right. So that's my right, and that's my right. Fantastic. Sorry. So make sure that you did it according. Should have had an eye on that as I did it, right? But we're good to go, okay? You guys can utilize that as your main, okay? Die, as mentioned. So save that in your folder. Come back to that when you're ready, okay? Yes, of course. Actually, let's take a break now. That'd be awesome. And I'm gonna go get a coffee. Where are we at here? 10:30, so another half hour. Oh, we're doing well. So we'll see how much we have, how much we'll get through. We'll do our best, okay? Again, yay, coffee. Yes. Yes, and I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you, Kim. Cool, everyone. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Sound good?